You always expect the Badgers to be a really competitive team, but it was a season that felt more painful than a Wisconsin winter without a coat. Well, maybe I won't go that far, but losing to your rivals and not making a bowl game certainly leaves a sting. So let me go over how this all happened. Wisconsin, as you can see, since 2001, they've made a bowl game every single year. We don't talk about the 2020 year. It basically never really happened. So that one outlier is the 2024 year in which they go 5-7, which is why it's such a pivotal year for Wisconsin. The backbone of every team is the recruiting class. If you have a good recruiting class, you're probably going to do very well. And in 2023, they did not have a good recruiting class. A new quarterback coming in, or not a new quarterback, a new coach coming in, you would expect the recruits to not come flying and to not come flowing into the program. But they bounced back in 2024 with the 23rd ranked recruiting class, picking up some pretty good players. But I want to talk about the transfer class, because the transfer class has some players which I will highlight later. The 2024 transfer class is specifically what I want to highlight. Tyler Van Dyke, a player who I'll talk about later, was part of the 2024 transfer class. Joseph Griffin Jr. and Tackett Curtis are some as well. As you can see, in 2024, the transfer class was a lot better than the recruiting class, ranked 25th. As you've seen with programs like Indiana and Colorado, using the transfer portal can be a key asset in making your team good enough to compete with the likes of Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia. When talking about Wisconsin and these past 2 years, you have to talk about Luke Fickell, the man, the myth, the legend. You might love him, you might hate him, I don't know, but he clearly has some experience being a coach at Ohio State, winning a bunch of awards at Cincinnati, Home Depot Coach of the Year, AAC Coach of the Year 3 times, taking Cincinnati to the conference championship and winning back-to-back championships, taking some star players to the NFL draft like Sauce Gardner to the New York Jets. Not only all of that, but Luke Fickell brought Cincinnati to the playoffs. Of course, they'd go on to lose to Alabama in a 20-6 game in the Cotton Bowl, but you really have to respect what he did for the program. So everyone going into the 2023 year figured Luke Fickell is the man. He's going to do well by year 2, by year 3. He's going to have Wisconsin up to where maybe not as good as he did with Cincinnati, but to be a formidable program. One team that you can kind of compare Wisconsin to is Nebraska. Of course, kind of a Nebraska fan myself. Nebraska gets Matt Rule the same time Wisconsin gets Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell does better in his first year. Matt Rule does better in his second year. However, Wisconsin's the one that's kind of taken regression, which is why I'm making a video about Wisconsin. Let's go over that 2023 year, and you can't go over the 2023, 2022, and 2021 years without talking about Braylon Allen, a star-studded running back. He gets drafted by the New York Jets in the 4th round. He won the second team All Big Ten honors in 2023, one of his actually worst years, as he did not do as well as his sophomore or freshman year. Of course, his sophomore year, he had a bunch more attempts, but the rushing game as a whole regressed from that freshman year, going from 6.8 yards averaged to 5.4 the next 2 years. Overall, the offense was not very good for Wisconsin, not exactly playing up to what Wisconsin wanted. As you can see with the schedule, they didn't score many points, and there's one game that I kind of want to highlight because it impacts the rest of the year, and that is the second game against Washington State. If you lose one of your first 2, the morale of your team is not as good going into the next ones. You do not have that "we gotta keep undefeated" mentality. Of course, if you have the I gotta keep undefeated mentality, if you lose, you could lose a couple, but Wisconsin, they lose early, and while they do win a couple, they then go on to have a horrible offensive showing against Iowa, only scoring 5 points. They never go on to score more than 30 points after the Purdue game, besides in the bowl game. After the Purdue game, they do not go on to score more than 30 points, and they lose a ton. The offense and the defense kind of at this point are not playing super great, but of course, when you hold Ohio State to only 24 points, you gotta be able to score more than 10 to beat them. They barely lose to LSU, and they end the season 7-6. very good for Luke Fickell's first year. Some people said that they underachieved, but me personally, that's a very good first year for a head coach, for a new head coach. So I have highlighted the offense, but now I want to highlight this defense. Very impressive defense, ranked 7th in the nation for the 2024 year. Mike Tressel, previous defensive coordinator at Cincinnati, brought over with Luke Fickell to Wisconsin, performs in his first year very well. The offense was the primary issue for that season. The offense not doing very well, the defense doing very well. Now on to the 2024 season, kind of the season that this whole video is based around. First of all, we got to look at the schedule. The pivotal game in the season was, of course, the game against Alabama. Everyone was thinking, will Alabama be able to start well in the season against a tough Wisconsin defense? And Alabama 100% finds a way. People were saying, oh, will Milroe do well? Milroe did do well. It definitely would have been tougher for Alabama if this game was later in the season in a rough Wisconsin winter. But Alabama goes on to win 42-10. Wisconsin loses to USC, and then they get three really easy games. They put up a ton of points. Keep in mind, these are bad teams. You know, Rutgers maybe not, but Northwestern and Purdue, absolutely terrible this season, especially Purdue. I believe they only won 2 games. That's very poor, and if I was a Purdue fan, I'd be pretty mad. And then there's another game that's very pivotal this season, which was against Iowa. How do you allow Iowa to score 42 points against you? I know Iowa's offense was better this season than the previous years, but you still allowed 42 points to Iowa when you're Wisconsin and you think you have a good defense. Another big game was against Oregon. They almost beat Oregon, but they only scored 13 points. Very bad offensive showing. The offense, if it was better, I mean, they could have very easily beat Oregon, let's be honest, but it wasn't. It certainly was not. So they fired the offensive coordinator after that game, and they go on to lose their next 2 games against rivals, in which Wisconsin, kind of hung in for a bit, but they ended up getting blown out in both of them. So a terrible end of the season, a decent middle of the season against bad teams. How did this all happen? What was the offensive defense doing? Well, the offense was not doing very well. Nothing was clicking for this Wisconsin offense. All these statistics on the screen were not very good, if I'm going to be honest. The defense was still pretty decent this season, coming in with a 46th ranked scoring defense. Pretty mid, but definitely on the upper scale. They still did decent in games, having a good passing defense. Typically, Wisconsin has a better rushing defense, but a good passing defense this season, allowing 23 points per game and having a pretty good total defense. The quarterback was Braden Locke. So yeah, of course, Tyler Van Dyke gets injured. Braden Locke comes in. Tyler Van Dyke gets injured during the Alabama game, in which they got blown out. For the rest of that season, Wisconsin doesn't do very well. Who knows how good they could have been with Tyler Van Dyke, but the defense would need to play a little better. Of course, like I said before, after that game against Oregon, Phil Longo got fired. I want to only say facts on this channel, but I'm going to say an opinion. This was a very good move, let's be honest. I think the offensive coordinator coming in is even better than Phil Longo, and I think change is really necessary for a Wisconsin team that over the years has maybe not had a really great offense, and certainly not in 2024. Now when we go over the schedule, it's a very difficult schedule. You play Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, Illinois. Did I say Iowa? You also play Iowa, and you play Minnesota, who you lost to the year before. Very difficult schedule. There's not really much I need to say. Maybe I'll do a video kind of going over the schedule, saying how many I think they will win, but all that's kind of just opinion. Who knows when the season actually goes. Maryland's had some good years. Washington's proven to be a very solid Big Ten team. Every single team on the schedule besides Miami and Middle Tennessee, they could realistically lose to. Now, enough of that negativity. There is some positive things that I want to talk about going into next season, including Jeff Grimes, offensive coordinator at BYU, Baylor, and Kansas. He's proven to be a very good offensive coordinator. making that Kansas offense very good. Of course, Kansas not as good as the years before this 2024 season, but I still think he's an exceptional hire for Wisconsin. Billy Edwards Jr., a transfer for this 2025 class. He was a quarterback at Maryland. Many people think he's going to be very good for this Wisconsin team. He's experienced. He played pretty decent at Maryland, maybe not the best at times, but I think he's better than Braden Locke or Tyler Van Dyke. So a better offensive coordinator, a better quarterback, and a defense that should still be good would make this Wisconsin team a very good team, right? Well, maybe, but the schedule is definitely very difficult. Anyways, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and do all of that. I'm going to try and upload every day if I can, but I'm very slow. I want to create quality videos, but I want to also post as much as I can. Any advice for me, comment down below. It'd be greatly appreciated. Peace.